to Competitive Speed Series. It's yet another round of racing.
What's going to happen in turn 1?
4, 5 red lights here in Shanghai.
They will need an even bigger miracle.
This is completely flipped on its head.
Now the gloves have come off.
You will not believe your eyes.
Oh, into the wall! For the first time, EVE have won a race.
They defeated the unbeatable team title for TF10. They are back on top.
Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to Competitive Speed Series. My name is Frostbreath, aka Rob, and you have just arrived at round number 9. This is Austria, aka the Red Bull Ring, round 9 of this season so far, and we are starting to near and reach the end of this season 6. 3 more to go in Canada, Great Britain, and Australia, and then we'll know which team will be the winner. Speaking of teams, let's have a little look at the standings and how things are looking so far. VNT, aka Ventori, is still leading the way. This time, though, the gap has reduced a little bit by FRT's dominant victory by Sixten Lindhard last week, who's present once again tonight. Dominant drive in Imola with his 2 stops after the intermediate conditions at the start of the race. He just drove away on his both stints while everybody else, or mostly everybody else, decided to last on one additional set of tires after the inters, which in the end didn't work out for them, and therefore the gap has been reduced by 10 points now, 52 points instead of 62 between VNT and FRT. Team TF10 still in 3rd place. With 210 points, they can see their title slipping further and further away. The prolongation of their title, so to say, is they're still the reigning champions, but now they are 176 points behind, and they'll slowly and surely need a miracle to get in. So then, 19 drivers are waiting to get going. Once again, EVR is 1 driver short, and the team is actually in serious trouble. If the second driver doesn't join tonight, the team will be out, as far as I'm aware, as I can see in the Discord chat. So that might be a major problem for them. They're still last in the standings. They were completely absent last week. And now they only have Alex Day, aka Epic Lexer, in the lobby, as you can see right here. As for the rest of the teams, IRT have brought in Franciszek Zeziorny, then Darian Zins. We have got Benjamin Letourneur and Max Moreau for F1AF. FRT, last week's winner, once again have brought Rev and Sixten Lindhard. For OMB, we've got Mario Amoroso and Sipox Balas. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. TF10 have brought in Harlem Marquis and George Ansel. TRT have got Gabriel Amato and Mario Amoroso, Marcos Almeida, sorry. AMR have got Claudio Diaz and David Martinez. VNT, our current championship leaders, Tom Wolfgram and Miltus Karafoulidis for their duo. As for ET8, Michael Heidrich and Ryan Grob. And I believe now I've covered all 10 teams. 9.5 teams, really. Apparently crossplay is on, but I don't think it is causing an issue just yet. I'm just hoping that it won't cause any issue through the remainder of this session as well. So far it looks quite stable and quite nice. Sixten Lindhard, last week's race winner, out on track already. But in the lead, it's one of the ET8 cars. So that is Michael Heidrich in the one of the V-carbs. He'll be the first to start a hot lap around this shortest track on the calendar, as we all know. We all know it and love it. The Red Bull Ring always provides excellent racing. The 1 and 2 stop here are incredibly tight and incredibly close. I think most drivers will prefer the 2 stop because the tires are usually near popping range, even if you save them a lot at the end of either stint. So let's see how things are going to turn out. Michael Heidrich already on his way. His teammate right behind him, Ryan Grob, has just exited the pit lane on an outlap at the moment. 5:15.797 for Heidrich in the first sector. Several others have started the hot laps as well, including Max Moreau and Benjamin Letourneur, Darian Zins as well, and David Martinez alongside it. Sixten Lindhard has gone back in to the pit lane. It's unusual. Probably not happy with the position, perhaps. His teammate is on his way, Rev. He finished P7 after a post-race penalty removal from the stewards. He originally finished P12, but he got back into P7, so an extra few points for FRT, and therefore the gap had been reduced. Oh, Michael Heidrich, not to the greatest of starts. Had it under control until the final 2 corners where he lost it all, and that means he's going to have to try again. Let's see. Max Moreau then, there for the first 2-set hot lap, 1 minute 3.5. Gabriel Amato on his way, as you can see right here. But let's switch our attention to one of the VNT cars. That is Tom Wolfgram. The reigning champions, still growing strong, despite having lost a little bit of points to their nearest rivals last week, as Darian Zins now goes fastest overall. David Martinez P2 and Benjamin Letourneur just behind his teammate in P4 for the time being. Tom Wolfgram just finished the second sector, 44.126. And hello, Danny. Welcome to the stream. Franciszek Giorni has just retired. He's going to be starting from the back. That is a shame for him. IRT, 1 driver down. And Tom Wolfgram, unsurprisingly, goes fastest overall. 1 minute 3.219. Let's see how his teammate is faring. Miltus Karafulaitis. We haven't seen him drive for this team this season yet. And here he is with a 48.5 in the middle sector. That doesn't look like he's going for a competitive time, perhaps for a second outlap. Or maybe he's already back on his way in. Mario Amoroso is quite fast tonight. Slots into P2 for ONB. Which is, of course, the latest team to join the grid. It looks like we're going to need a new lobby. Because of the crossplay being on. And it must be off. Whoa! Ah, Mario Amoroso. That was quite feisty. And it looks like this qualifying session is actually cancelled. So everything you're seeing right here does no longer count. Crossplay must be off. Apparently it still causes issues. So all we need to wait for is whether drivers will realize or not that George Ansel goes fastest for the reigning champions. A little bit of hope then for TF10 if they can continue this form in the next lobby. And in the meantime, our host is asking why instead of just doing it immediately. So let's just hope it will be done quickly. Alex Day, aka Epic Lex, are disappointed. As he says, the one day I set a good lap time. Benchmark time. As Miltus Karafulaitis goes into second place. Even though this is no longer counting for anything, it's still interesting to see what these drivers can do. Especially the drivers we haven't seen before, like this man. Sipox Balazs goes into P9, 1 minute 3.5, 4 milliseconds behind Claudio Diaz. Harna Marquise, a new face for TF10, is going straight back in. And it looks like drivers are slowly but surely realizing it's going to be a restart. So, once we're back in business, I'll be right back with you. So, see you in a moment. And we're back. Welcome back, welcome back. Back with 19 drivers with one little change. And I completely missed it, actually. One of the OMB drivers was joined from EA. So he was lucky crossplay was on. Unfortunately, it is supposed to be off. So OMB has been allowed to replace their driver. That means now we've got Pascal Gill in, as he makes very clear with his caps lock name. So OMB therefore still with 2 drivers. EVR still with only 1. So this might actually be their final race in this season, which would be very unfortunate. Let's just hope they'll be able to have their second driver in before the 17 minutes are over. He will serve a qualifying ban nonetheless, whether he joins or not. It's time to get going though. Once again, welcome back to Austria, the Red Bull Ring. And the drivers are fast to get out of the pit lane. They want to get going, of course. The delay officially now has been 23 minutes. By this point, usually the race is about to start. But this time, it just wasn't meant to be. And now we're going to get on our way with F1AF leading the way here in the first attempt of a hot lap. Max Moreau, Benjamin Letourneur are headed this large group of cars in third position. It's not Pascal Gill, it's Mario Amoroso. And right behind him, I believe, Sixten Lindhard, who's also very eager to get going, as per usual. In fact, he's so eager to get going, can't even bother to wait for Mario Amoroso's moment to leave himself some room. In fact, Sixten comes back in straight away, leaving Mario probably a little bit confused. Either way, Max Moreau and Benjamin Letourneur on their way for the first hot lap. Let's see how F1AF are doing this time round. They appear to be struggling lately. They've had some brilliant early season pace, but they've been falling back. And we'll find them at the back of the field more and more. So I'm hoping that this time round they can put up a good performance. As you saw in the first attempt of qualifying, OMB was definitely up there with Mario posting a quite strong lap time. And let's hope he can continue that trend. It looks like the weather is more or less the same. Slightly cloudy-ish. Actually completely overcast, to be fair. And that means drivers can focus on the exact same thing. What the weather is going to be for the race, we will only know once the race happens. One more corner to go for Max Moreau. On the main straight right now, DRS wide open across the line. It's a 1 minute 3.621. His teammate as a comparative material right there, 1 minute 3.7, which will not be nearly good enough for pole position. Harna Marquis on his way as well. I believe Rev is on an outlap at the moment. Marcus Almeida, only 1 minute 3.9. And there's the first really fast lap time as Marquis invalidates his lap. On turn 7, Tom Wolfgram once again back up to provisional pole. It's about the exact same lap time he had previous time, 1 minute 3.114. 6 milliseconds clear from Darian Zins. And Harder Marquis is gonna have to try in a second attempt, because this lap gets invalidated immediately as well. George Ansel once again pips Tom Wolfgram to provisional pole. It looks like TF10 have brought in 2 very quick drivers, and they need that to retain any hope of the championship. Ryan Grob, quick as usual, goes even faster than Ansel onto provisional pole position. Last time he was racing here, he had incredibly bad luck in Brazil, where he was taken out. Then the race had to be restarted, and it was taken from the lap just after he crashed out. So that meant he couldn't race anymore. Let's hope he can bring some justice and some revenge for his performance last time round, because he's quick, we all know it. And he's definitely eager to get a performance out here. Even though, as he said himself, he doesn't race a lot of leagues anymore. He's still the quickest, which just shows that you don't simply just completely unlearn how to drive on this game. So as it stands, Ryan Grob on provisional pole, George Ansel in second, Tom Wolfgram for VNT in third, then Darian Zins and Claudio Diaz for AMR and P5. And AMR desperately need a good performance tonight to stay properly in the midfield battle. We see them usually qualify well and then fall back in the race more often than not. And of course they are desperate now for a good result. So far though, quite strong with P5 and 7. sandwiching VNT's Miltus Carofolitis, sitting in P6 at the moment. And the poll is up once again, and not anymore. Oh, there it is. ET8, TF10 or VNT. Put in your vote right now and let us know who you think, which team is going to be in pole position. FRT, well, the Sixton has retired in the pit lane, serving a qualifying ban. A double qualifying ban, in fact. I think. I'll have a quick look at the steward decisions. Sorry about the pause screen. Indeed, FRT is serving 2 qualifying bans and IRT is indeed serving 1. Ooh, that's painful for the team chasing VNT. So VNT can take it a bit more easily right now, although they would probably prefer having a 1-2. In which case they can completely control the race, which is what they obviously prefer. Our newcomer then, a full-on newcomer for ONB, and last-minute stand-in, Pascal Gill has opted for an empty track. I believe he's pushing as we speak, he is. Trying to stay in the apex right there on the double left-hander. Turn 6 and 7, then turn 8 and 2 more to go. Only 10 corners, remember, on this track. And Pascal Gill is trying to make a good first impression for his team. Don't go too wide here, all's looking fine. A 3.5 puts him right behind his own teammates. Very closely matched the both of them are, which is good news for the team. They will be starting together for the time being. P8 and P9, 3/100ths of a second apart pretty much. And a good start then for them. Yep, if you think another team is going to be in pole position, let us know who you think, which team you think that's going to be. Mario Amoroso, first back out for the second attempt. Let's see if he can improve. He's not that far away from David Martinez for P7. Looks like OMB are looking reasonably strong tonight. Like AMR, F1AF, not too bad either. But then again, there are still 3 drivers without a lap time, and the other 3 are not qualifying at all. And FRT Revs. A Rev will be starting from the back, all the way from the back. Franciszek Jesiorny will be starting right in between the FRT cars, unless Hardem, Gabriel, and Michael. Michael cannot put a lap time there. So let's see. Slowly but surely, several other cars heading back on track. Harlem Marquise as well. His teammates on the front row, just behind Ryan Grob. It's his first outing for TF10 here in CSS. And of course he'll make sure to prove to the team that he's worthy of a try with them. Off he goes then on a hot lap. Let's stay on board with him as he storms towards turn number 1. Down to 5th gear, 4th gear. Nicely cut right there, past the pit exit. No traffic so far. What's the first sector going to look like? Pretty much all the way on the inside right here, 15.6. That is rapid. Just a little bit off the apex right there, I think. More DRS. Headed towards turn number 4. Which probably could also be considered turn 3. And then of course the double left-hander coming right up. Turn 6 and 7. Trying to hit the apex right there. Looks quite good to me there. Turn 7. Same story. Don't go too wide. Turn 8 then. Purple middle sector as well. Not sure if that's true. A little bit of traffic on the way here. Let's see if the Williams gets going. It does. Last corner then. Still within the white lines. DRS wide open. And that is a rapid lap time. Very, very rapid indeed. Harlem Marquise straight to the top of the list. 1 minute 2.947. He's definitely proving his worth. And this is a bit like the good old days from the last 2 seasons where TF10 dominated the field together with FVR. Their intense rivalry throughout those 2 seasons. Fascinating to see. But they're back in business. Ryan Grob is now right in the middle of them. And VNT P4, P7, which is a bit of a relief probably for FRT. We of course do hope that neither of them will be at the top. Half a tenth quicker now, Tom Wolfgram though. Potentially on his way to steal provisional pole from Harlan Marquis, but George Ansel is on his way too. Ryan Gropp has backed out. And the pressure is on for sure for the championship leaders to put in a good performance. This is their moment to potentially deal the final blow to FRT's championship hopes. Even though there are still 3 rounds to go, there's a 52-point gap between the two teams. 1/10 quicker now. He's in a 1-minute 2 territories now, and he's about to potentially crush Harlem's lap. Even if it is going to be by a tiny margin, that's the nature of this track. Gaps are going to be tight and invalidates. He will not finish the lap. He will finish the lap though. It would have been almost pole position. It would have been the front row for sure. Ryan Gropp, 9 milliseconds slower in sector 1. George Ansel, let's see, he's just headed to the end of the second sector. What's the improvement there? Slower actually. Is he going to finish this lap then? Is he going to find some time in the final sector? We'll find out soon. Can't see it on the steering wheel, unfortunately, but it looks like no, he's definitely not satisfied with this lap. And George Ansel done for now, as Darian Zins improves to the front row. IRT are slowly starting to pick up the pieces. It's an upwards trend for the team, but it's going to be too little too late for the championship, that's for sure. Either way, a good job so far. Michael Heydrich now up into P9 with a 1-minute 3.3. I believe both 1F and 1AF drivers are on their way at the moment. Yep, Benjamin Letourneur is about to finish sector 2. His teammate a few corners back, but not pushing. 2.5 tenths quicker then for Benjamin. He might find himself very close to the top 10, if not in it, as Mario Amoroso does improve to P10. Pascal Gil on his way too. Ooh, that was way too wide there. You saw it happen. A bit of a twitch as he entered the final corner, and it would have been a moment of 3.498. Good enough for P12, but for now he stays last, and Max Moro goes back in. That's the both of them done. Pascal Gil invalidated as well, stays P12 for now. Ryan Gropp couldn't find an improvement either, stays P3. But the battle for pole position is still going on. We're now seeing several people cheering on TF10, ET8, Harlan Marquis, and of course ET8's Ryan Gropp and Michael Heydrich. And now the big waiting begins to see who's going to get out first for the final run. Pit crews heading out for the cars coming in. Both Saubers arriving a few seconds behind each other. But there's still plenty of time to come into the pit box, set a fresh set of tires, and then go back out again. So let's see. Who will be the fastest? So far, Harlan Marquis has absolutely smashed it. Darian Zins is very close behind. Ryan Gropp not too far behind either. He's within a 1/10 of a second. George Ansel just over it. But TF10, of course, would love a 1-2 here tonight. And I can actually see it happen. I wouldn't be surprised if TF10 can actually occupy the front row. And perhaps do something about the 180-point gap to the championship leaders. It's a big step backwards from last season, where they were dominant in the fight with FIA for the title. This season, though, they find themselves on the back foot, but still in P3, still on the technical podium. And the prize pool, of course, runs down all the way to P5. But there's still every bit of hope for them. ET8 strong tonight. P3, P9. Darian Zins for IRT is their only hope, as Franciszek is serving the qualifying ban. Probably a strategic choice right there, because it looks like Darian Zins is rapid tonight. There's one of the both Williams cars coming out now with David Martinez in the lead. Claudio Diaz behind. They're going out quite early, perhaps to potentially catch a mistake, an invalidation, or maybe give a tow to the other car. And that means one of them would do a double outlap. We'll see what the strategy is. Same goes for the Alpine cars. Gabriel Amato, Marcos Olmedo, P11, P14. CRT need a bit of improvement there. And now the pit lane is starting to run empty. Darian Zins is also out there. One of the Ferraris headed out. That's Miltos Carafulaitis. Both Mercedes cars now for TF10. The current provisional pole sitter, Harlan Marquis, the second Mercedes, out on track now. And now the pit lane is pretty much empty. There's one Aston Martin of Benjamin Letourneur remaining. And of course those who have retired to serve their qualifying bans. And it looks like the second EVR driver will not be joining. And the only EVR driver of Alex Day, sitting in P13 at the moment, might be driving the last race for the team in this season. That means we'll have another reserve team coming in, perhaps. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Claudio and David Martinez. Claudio Diaz, David Martinez on their way at the moment for their final runs, potentially. What's the difference here? 77 milliseconds quicker already in Sector 1. That's strong. He's well on his way, potentially, for provisional pole position. Might he pull off a surprise then? It looks like we've got a poll vote in. It's a disagreement there. Nobody thinks, no majority thinks that TF10 VNT or ETA is going to be in pole position. I think people are betting for IRT. With Darian Zins looking strong. But we'll have to see. David Martinez, first to finish the final hot lap. What's it going to be for this man? Wow, look at that. Big improvement. All the way to the front row. What can Claudio Diaz do then? Can he go even quicker? He can't. He's lost quite a lot of time in the last sector. Can only manage P6. But man, David Martinez surely pulls up a surprise. Or is it track evolution? We'll find out. Ryan Grob is backing out. I'm not sure what's happened here. He's let Michael Heidrich through. And there's George Ansel. No surprises there. Fastest of the lot immediately. Next up, Max Moro. Let's swap to Harlan Marquis quickly. Let's see how he's doing. Across the line. And he's starting now. I think everybody's on a double out lap to get some extra temperature. A little less fuel. Oh, Miltos. That's it for them. He's out of qualifying now. Made a mistake in turn 1. As Tom Wolvergam cannot touch George Ansel. And that means there's still every hope for Harlan Marquis. 12 milliseconds slower in the first sector. That's a tiny, tiny margin. It's chaos on track. There's slow cars everywhere. David Martinez now pushed down to P4, but still extraordinary. Darian Zins on his way as well. VNT will certainly not grab pole position. Perhaps TF10 then. They already have it with George. Harlan Marquis now 1 millisecond quicker in the middle sector. He needs a little bit more to make it a TF10 1-2. Are we back to the situation of season 4 and 5 perhaps? Is this a big return to form for TF10 as they go across the line? Harlan Marquis goes to pole position. And can Darian Zins perhaps spoil their party? No, I don't think he is. He was backed out already a long time ago. And I don't think anybody on track at the moment is able to pull a hot lap good enough for pole position anymore. Everybody's coming in or hasn't validated or has finished. And it looks there for then TF10 back in business. 1 and 2 for the Mercedes team. Brilliant job. Harlan Marquis and George Ansel. The golden duo for the team. And this is their time to shine. Extraordinary job. Harlan Marquis, George Ansel, 1-2. Tom Wolfgram only manages P3. Miltos Carafulaitis, P9. FRT, of course, has now served the qualifying ban 17 and 19th. They'll have a long, long race ahead of them. ET8, strong result, I think. P6 and 7. Nothing to complain about there. And I believe I saw some other surprises. I believe I saw a TT car high up there. AMR, I think, have done a good job today. Let's see. Yep, David Martinez, P4, and Claudio Diaz, P8. That's what they need. F1AF, not too bad, P10, P13. And Alex Day, only EVR driver, P15. Marcus Almeida, all the way down in last of the qualifiers. His teammate Gabriel Amato managed P12, ONB, in P11 and P14. So it's going to be an interesting race. A very nice mix of cars. And of course the big story about FRT trying to drive themselves to the front of the field to have any chance at all against VNT. But VNT are not dominating this time round. They do not occupy the front row whatsoever. But I do have Tom Wolfgram still in P3. However, TF10 will surely try and control this race. They want a 1-2 finish. They want to claw back and show that they're still there. And perhaps are starting to pick up the pieces. And maybe challenge once again next season. Or perhaps even this season, depending on how the rest does. It's still cloudy as we go to the race. I do not know whether rain is going to fall or not. But it's dry for the time being. Although it looks like it might be raining any second at this rate. Let's see if that happens or not. Could make the race, of course, very interesting. Last week we had a rainy start, a very slightly wet-ish start on the intermediates, but barely necessary. After only a few laps, they could be ditched. And then the choice was between a 1 or 2 stop, and it turned out the 2 stop was a lot faster. Even though the pit lane was very long, of course, in Imola. Here the pit lane is shorter, the track is shorter, and I think the 2 stop is very viable and even quicker here. So let's see if the drivers are in agreement on that one. Early in this game's life cycle, the 2 stop certainly was preferred. Some drivers tried a 1 stop, but resulted with a net 0 position gain. Or a slight loss for some of them. So it might not be ideal. It depends on how your tire management is. So let's find out how they can do that. If they can do that. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on those for the 1 stop. We'll find out now with 3, 4 and 5 red lights on with round number 9 starting immediately there with TF10. The both of them coming on the line quite well. And it looks like George Ansel has to go defensive against Tom Wolfram, who decide to not take any risks whatsoever. Darian Zins tries to stay ahead of Ryan Grubb, who started from P6 as he decides to go side by side, catching the slipstream of the Williams ahead. But Darian Zins is going to try and brake much later, but this time it's Ryan Grubb on the inside, and he's going to try and push Darian a little bit wide, wrestling his way through up into P5. Grubb goes after a botched qualifying in which I'm sure he could have fought for pole position. It wasn't meant to be. Is he going to dive on the inside? Outbrakes himself a little bit. Nearly went for the move from David Martinez. Claudio Diaz goes past as well. And Darian is now already down to P7. Under threat from Michael Heidrich as well. Sixten Lindhard is moving positions now already up to P14. Michael Heidrich up to P7. Darian Zins is in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. The man who could potentially have claimed pole position is already down several places. 3 in fact since the race start at the start of this one. Lap number 1 to be precise. Several drivers therefore now have their work cut out for them. Miltos Garofalidis hangs around in P9 still. The top 4 remains stable for the time being. 1 lap complete. Miltos looking for a move on Darian Zins too. Look at that. I'm not sure what's going on with Darian, but he has no pace yet. He's going to have to defend against Miltos. He is indeed starting on the medium tires. Let's see how everybody has started. Only Alex Days opted the hards. Everybody else started on the mediums. No surprises there. As slowly the race is starting to stabilize. And the background, Rev trying to get past Max Moro. Side by side they go still. Max defending hard against the final point-paying position. Rev's going to try around the outside. Yay, they need those points hard. He's still trying to hang it around the outside, and Max is defending well. But I think, yep, Rev has got the upper hand. And up into the points he goes. And he needed to be quick, otherwise there was a risk of losing DRS. Now he's chasing down the other F1AF car, Benjamin Letourneur for P14. As he tries to stay with his teammates. Sixten Lindhart has now got to get through the block of TRT cars. He's much faster through turn 1 than Marcus Almeida. And I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the move in turn 3. Almeida moving defensive. Sixten Lindhart on the inside. Easy does it or not? No, not yet. Marcos is still there. He's not going to yield that easily. He's going to try and find it back around the outside. Sixten Lindhard, though, breaks a little bit later, and the move is officially done in a collision between Amato and Amoroso for P10. Sixten getting caught out a little bit by that, nearly allowing Almeida back through. But the move is now fully done, and you can see there, ahead of them, Darian Zins still under pressure from Miltos Karafulaitis. Zins is not having a great race yet. He had a great qualifying, but the race so far, not so much. Lap 4 now. Harlan Marquis pulling away from his teammate. Of course, he will have to keep him within DRS range. Otherwise, he's a sitting duck against Tom Wolfgram, who can then give chase to the race leader. And here comes the other VNT car once more. And Ryan Grubb makes a move as well against David Martinez up into P4. Another move there from Karafulaitis. And a collision! The first collision, the proper collision of the race happened. Disaster for VNT. I'm not sure who he collided with, I couldn't see. Michael Heidrich tries to get past Claudio Diaz in the meantime. They bump wheels. He gets through. Has he lost DRS? He hasn't, but it's close. Heidrich up into P6. ET8 still looking strong. AMR still in the mix as well. But Heidrich has the upper hand. I am not entirely sure what happened. Michael Heidrich now barely hanging on to DRS. Martinez tries to drive him out of it, that's for sure. But he still has his rear wing open, I believe. Yes, he has. Once again through turn 1. And he's back within range. But just barely. Look at that. Now he's losing it. Now he's starting to lose it. Claudio Diaz finds him vulnerable. Doesn't go for the move in turn 3. Too far away. Too much risk. And Heidrich is now well within range once again. Took him one corner to gain those 4/10s he needed. And there he is, probably back in contention for a top 5 position. Switching back to the FRT car, Sixten Lindhard is now stuck behind Gabriel Amato. The pace difference has now become too small for him to close up properly. And perhaps the pit stop is going to do it for him. An undercut or perhaps even an overcut. Claudio Diaz has decided to keep the pressure on to Michael Heidrich for P6. He's trying to force him into a mistake. He wants Michael to lose DRS against David Martinez. And then Martinez can manage the gap in front and behind as well to give his teammate DRS again. But so far, Michael is staying in between them. In the background, Darian Zins now pressurized by Myra Amoroso. It was Miltos, but Miltos collided with someone. I don't think it was Darian. I think it was the car ahead. Perhaps by his own fault. I'm not entirely sure. I think for a moment I saw a raindrop, but it wasn't. That's why I jumped on board here. Usually you see rainy stripes going across the car when it rains. Could be just me, but I swear I see raindrops falling here and there. Oh, Sixten Lindhard is on a roll again. Wah! Gabriel leaves the space. Whoa! And there he loses control badly. Nearly smashes into the wall, ends his own race. He wanted to stay side by side as long as possible. Well, that was never ever going to work. And the first round of pit stops is happening. After 6 laps of racing. No rain. Thank you for confirming, Danny. Must have been my screen then. Just glitching a little bit here and there. Darian Zins no longer within DRS range. He's going to feel the pain immediately as Mario Amoroso lines him up for a move in turn 3. Side by side, never mind. It looked like it from the camera angle. Darian is fighting for the DRS, but he's got a 3-second time penalty now to his name. That won't help him either. Rev, thanks to the pit stops for the cars ahead of him, well outside DRS range. Sixten Lindhard probably won't hold back, otherwise he will lose DRS himself. Sixten well within the fight for the points. VNT find themselves still stuck behind the block in the front. That is TF10. And I think one of these two cars are going to pit. Tom Wolfgram is certainly going to pit. Is one of them going to follow suit? Absolutely. George Ansel will cover Tom Wolfgram in the first round of pit stops. He was probably waiting to see what Tom would do. And in they both go. This is certainly a two-stop race now for everybody coming in at this moment. Ryan Grob hangs on still. Now up into P2. Michael Heidrich following suit. Ryan slowing down just enough to give his teammate DRS, or perhaps Michael has used some battery. Either way, some good teamwork going on. This is their opportunity to work together and close the gap to Harlem, the race leader. They're not too far behind anymore. Harlem staying out one more lap. What will the difference be? Pascal Gil against Franciszek Dziagiorni for P7 for now. The RT guys both still out there. Sixten Lindhard trying to get to Darian Zins. And he does so. He gets within DRS range. And I think it's now Harlem's turn to come in. He does. Ryan and Michael. No, Michael comes in now. Ryan stays out. Darian Zins pitting as well. Sixten Lindhard goes around for another lap. Last week, he was the one to push and go for a two-stop. Perhaps this time he's going to go for a one-stop. I doubt it, though. He will struggle by the end of the race. Harlem Marquis going back out. There's his teammate, followed by Claudio and Tom. Is he going to stay within DRS range quite easily? But he loses out to Tom Wolfgram. He's going to have to push hard now. Tom Wolfgram is stuck behind Claudio. Not something he wanted. Claudio's put the undercut and it worked well for him. Nearly outbroke himself there, and Tom definitely has the upper hand in pace. This is crucial for Tom to get ahead of Claudio Diaz. To put another car in between himself. And oh, he collides! Some carbon fiber flying! But this is what he needs. He needs to put a car in between himself and Harlem, and he does so. A late defensive move by Claudio. Perhaps has caused some wing damage for Tom Wolfgram. Ryan Grubb coming in. Sixten staying out. Franciszek coming in as well. And this is how it stands then. George Ansel will soon be your race leader. Still. Well, not still, because Harlem Marquis was the race leader, of course. But TF10 is still leading the race, but no longer in a 1-2 position. It's a 1-3, 1-4 position actually now. Michael Heidrich up to P6 in DRS range of Harlem Marquis. And there's still David Martinez for him to keep him company. Still pushing him all the way. Michael can't shake him off. And in the meantime, he wants to get past Harlem Marquis. Is this 1 to 2 lap difference going to be good enough for Harlem? That's the question. Perhaps by the end of the race. We'll see. We'll see. Claudio probably is already happy that he managed to get himself in the podium fight by doing a 1-lap undercut. And Sixten, I think, once again is doing an alternative tire strategy. We've seen him doing it in Imola, where he was one of the few to go for the 2-stop while the rest went for the 1. And maybe this time it's vice versa. Because he started from the back, he had nothing to lose. It will be a net gain if he finishes in the top 10 anyways. And it's a risky strategy, a 1-stop. But it can work if you manage your tires well. And I feel like Sixten is just the man to manage tires well. George Ansel now going defensive against Tom Wolfgram. We're watching it from the onboard point of view of Ansel's teammates. Oh, this is going to be potentially a move. Claudio broke early, very early. And this time it's a good opportunity. Bumping wheels again. Harlem Marquis has got a good chance to get past. He needs to brake as late as possible. He can do that. Is Claudio still on the inside? Yes, he is, and gets back through. Never mind though, because Harlem is still there. And now he carries some extra speed. And Claudio makes no big work of it. Harlem Marquis back through. And now they've got Tom Wolfgram in a vice-like sandwich grip. Perhaps we should make a poll out of that question, Ace. How many people won't have penalties at the end? Option A. 0, option B, 1 to 5, option 6, option 3, sorry, 6 to 10. And Sixten Lindhard comes in now. He's just gone for a long first stint then. And it will still be a 2-stop. That's, I think, a fact. Otherwise, you'll have to keep the Hards alive for 24 laps. That's a lot. And he falls back to P... Well, is he going to be in the points? He just barely is. P14. And FRT's driver Rev is leading that group. Some moves happening here and there. Michael Heidrich still being harassed. Or actually, never mind. He's now overtaken Claudio, the second AMR driver. He's done one, now he's done both. And Ryan Gropp is falling backwards due to his late pit stop. He's going to have to make the moves now. First victim, David Martinez. On the inside, David Martinez has no choice but to yield. Otherwise, he'll end up on the gravel. That's just simply how this racing goes. Ryan was ahead. He can close the door if he wants. And David knows it. However, Ryan's got front wing damage. So far, though, it hasn't hurt him too badly. Up next to make a move against David Martinez is Mario Amoroso. Look at that, into turn 1. Usually not the base you want to make moves because of this reason. Either you end up in the inside wall or the other one ends on the outside of the track. But Mario moves past. Darian Zins now is on the offensive once again. He had a struggle in the first stint and now he goes 2 for 1. Brilliant move. Darian Zins is happier on the hard tires, it seems. And he's back up in 7th. His teammate is nowhere near. Francisco Cesgiorni all the way down to P17 in a very lonely battle with Max Morrow for no points whatsoever. Not as slowly though as Alex Day, who pitted at the start of the race, probably due to collision. He's 26.5 seconds behind the next car. So far so good, and Harlan Marquise is now properly pressurizing Tom Wolfgram. And George is probably going to help him out to make the move. Is he going to go in turn 1? He's certainly having a look, trying to force Tom into a mistake. Tom is pushing hard. He wants to get past into the race lead now. It's the only way of defense he's got. He's getting closer and closer. What's George going to do? Into turn 3, side by side. Tom Wolfgram for the lead of the race from VNT, and he does so. There he goes. Does George Ansel get back to him straight away? Into turn 4. Into turn 4. Around the outside, perhaps. He does certainly try it. Pushes Tom to the inside as the Ferrari pushes him back out. Side by side they go to turn 6 and 7. Is he win out this time, though? Yes, he does. Harlem still can't make anything from it, though. And Tom Wolfram hangs around in P2 still. TF10, it looks like they really want this one too. They need it. They need to prove to the world they're still there. But they've got to be careful. Because behind them, there's still a slew of fast cars as well. Michael Heidrich is on the move. Oh, there they go! There goes Marcona Marquez. Extraordinary move right there from the TF10 driver. He goes too wide in turn 1. He broke too late and Tom Wolfgram is back through. George Anton has got damage. He pushes Tom Wolfgram early into the gravel. We're barely halfway the race and the gloves have come off already. It's like we're watching the final lap of a race here. And Harlan Marquise now goes down to P4 because there's Michael Heidrich, who doesn't care about TF10 strategy. He wants to win the race as well for ET8. Now he goes side by side with Tom Wolfgram. 3 teams in the battle for the win. And Ryan Grubb is still hanging on there as well. Ryan Grubb makes ET8 having 2 cars strong for the race win. TF10 as well. Tom Wolfram is still all alone because Miltus has fallen backwards literally. Sixten Lindhard is on a roll. He's up to P8. Finds himself in the main group already. On the freshest tires by far. He's got a big advantage. He can see the race leader. Miltus goes for an early second stop. Perhaps to do a big undercut and help out his teammate. No, he retires. Miltus is out. 1 VNT driver down. Good news for FRT. Disaster for VNT. And there goes Tom Wolfgram into turn 3, but George is still there. A bit of bumping once again. Bad exit for Tom Wolfgram. Opportunities for George to get back past. Here he goes into turn 4. Is Tom gonna defend? A little bit. He tries to go for the switchback. George simply carries too much speed already. And Tom stays behind, but Harlem is in trouble. He's back behind Michael Heidrich, back in P4. Alex Day is retired as well. 2 retirements now. And I think that is EVR's... EVR showtime is, I think, is over. The curtains have fallen. As far as I'm aware, we might see a new team join next week. Claudio Diaz on Ryan Grubb. Ryan looks strong in the first stint. On the second stint, he's struggling. He's now behind his teammate and under pressure from Claudio. AMR brought in 2 strong drivers. David Martinez, yes, he's fallen backwards perhaps, but still. They're both looking strong, and there goes Marlon Marquez on Michael Heidrich. And he gets through easily, and now Michael has to defend against 10,000 cars because there's Sixten Lindhard. Sixten Lindhard is already secretly, silently sneaked into the top 5, and he immediately goes for P4 because why not? He's in the middle of 2 V-carbs. Ryan Grubb tries to come back at him, tries to go around the outside. Michael Heidrich tries to help Ryan there, but instead helps Sixten through. That, of course, is very difficult to coordinate. And Sixten is already right under the rear wing of Michael Heidrich. Sixten from the back of the field with a long first stint. Once again showing that he's the man of the strategies, or his race engineer, I think. Whoever his race engineer is, he's a hero. Because Sixten once again is on top of it. He's absolutely on point. And he's now going to challenge Michael Heidrich for P4. Does Michael have an answer against hard tires at a 3-lap pressure? It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot on this game and on this track. And up he goes, no problem whatsoever. Sixten up in P4, and Harlan won't be happy to see that happen. This is what FRT needs. VNT are 1 man down. FRT still are 2 men strong. This is another opportunity for them to close the gap. I'm not sure why Miltus decided to retire. He was still in the points. He still had every opportunity when the safety car can come out. Apparently it wasn't meant to be. Darian Zins, Mario Amorosa. That nearly went terribly wrong for Mario. Nearly gone, pushed onto the gravel. Darian Zins in P8. He had a good start of this stint. Not so much anymore. A lot happening at the back of the field because several drivers are coming in for the second stop and for the final push. Oh, Rev! Oh, Rev! Oh, what have you done? He retires! He retires as well! He was in the points! What on earth is happening? Why are drivers giving up so quickly? Perhaps because of this. The front wing change. I think that might be the reason. Damages everywhere. But still, though, the top 15 grounds points. Not just the top 10. Ooh, Sixten. In the meantime, we nearly missed that move. He hasn't done it yet, though. Stays in P4, but he's still putting on big pressure. And he can run long on this stint as well. And then by the end of the race, he could potentially be in a winning spot. This man, the top 3 needs to watch out for. Now, both FRT and VNT are 1 man down, and Tom Wolfgram has decided to come in. Harlan Marquez carries on. TF10 back into 1-2 position. That's what they need, but it doesn't have DRS, so George Ansel, of course, will slow down. He needs to help Harlem, otherwise Sixten are through. They want to keep him behind as long as possible. It's necessary to claim their 1-2, but Tom Wolfram has decided to go for the undercut. It's the only opportunity. Sixten tries to go around the outside, and the switchback he makes! There he goes, up into turn 3 and into 2nd place. It's like Harlan never existed. Michael Heidrich now pressurizing the Mercedes driver. I think Harlan wants to come in. His tires might be dead. What a move, though, by Sixten Lindhard. Harlem fell for it. Went too deep. And through he went. Sixten Lindhard now in second place. And Harlem once again not behind his teammate. Directly behind his teammate anymore. And George, of course, will cover off Tom Wolfram's undercut with this pit stop. Ryan Grubb goes in as well. Same goes for David and Mario. And Sixten now leads the race. Claudio Diaz can't hang on. He loses connection to the top 3. Perhaps he should have come in as well. He's now got the oldest tires of the lot and he's starting to feel it massively. Tom Wolfram gets ahead of George Ansel. No surprises there. George Ansel, though, can he stay within DRS range? Oh, no. In fact, he's lost a lot of time. That one lap undercut has cost him 2 seconds. That's huge. And he's still, of course, got that front wing damage, which will now hurt him because he's got no one to tow along with. He needs to drive the race of his life to still have a chance of winning this race. Tom Wolfram is doing a good job. But he knows there's still a threat. And that threat still has yet to pit. Here he is. There goes Michael Heidrich for a very late call. Harlem Marquis has decided to go long alongside Sixten. If he can keep up with Sixten, why not? That means he will also have the late tire advantage. I think this might be a smart choice. This might be the one way to defeat Tom Wolfram. George has lost a lot of time. He will not find that time anytime soon. The gap has remained stable. There's still 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds. He's not closing the gap. He needs someone to work alongside with. It will not be his teammate. Ryan Gropp, Michael Heidrich are now together. They can work together to catch George. It's not what TF10 wants. It is definitely not what ET8 wants. But Ryan Gropp also has front wing damage. And through goes Michael Heidrich into P7. No surprises that Ryan lets him through. He's probably going to be the faster man with a whole front wing. You can see Ryan Gropp already going a little bit wider through the corner. And he will have to use Michael's toe to stay ahead of Marcos Almeida, who's made an undercut on him. He is close within DRS range. Darian Zins come in now for his pit stop. His second stint is over. Harlem and Sixten carry on still. Of course, for Sixten, that's not a surprise, and Harlem has got no choice but to do this. He can keep up with Sixten as long as he stays within DRS range. He can stay with Sixten as long as he likes, and then joins into the pit lane when he goes in as well. He wants to do the same strategy, despite the tire difference between them being 3 laps. George Ansel is slowly closing the gap, but behind him, Michael and Ryan are coming in hot as well. 1.7 seconds behind, 1.9 in front for George. Tom Wolfram for now in control. He will be the race leader once Sixten and Harlem have pitted. But then there's still some ways to go. I don't think Sixten and Harlem want to stay out for too long, and in goes Harlem Marquis to undercut Sixten. To make sure he stays ahead of the... Oh my goodness me! What a disastrous entry there for Harlem Marquis. He went onto the grass, nearly slipped around. That was scary to watch. But he carries on. That, though, might have cost him crucial seconds. And he will probably end up behind this large group of cars. And the dream for TF10 to get a 1-2 might be gone for good now. Even though the tire difference is going to be vast already between Harlem and the cars ahead. Perhaps he can do something like Sixten did. And take them off one by one. Pick them off one by one, I should say. Tom Wolfram has already overtaken Franciscek, who has yet to pit. Sixten still carries on. I think for another lap or 2, perhaps. Or maybe he wants to... make sure he stays ahead of Harlem, even though Harlem already had a bad pit stop. Sixten comes in anyway. I feel like Franciscek is going to do the same thing. Yes, he is. And therefore now everybody has made their second pit stop. Tom Wolfgram, now the race leader. George Ansel giving chase. His teammate Harlem behind the group that is chasing George. The gap remains stable once again between Tom and George, 1.8 seconds. Tom is now in full control of this race. That one lap he did, the outlap he did on this fresh set of tires was crucial. He gained enough time to perhaps gain the win once again for VNT. Oh, there's a yellow flag. What's happened? That's David Martinez in the wall. There were some fights going on. I saw several position swaps happening. Sixten Lindhard against Darian Zins. Does Zins have, or Lindhard have damage? Side by side they go. Bumping wheels again. We've seen a lot of wheels bumping in turn 4. And Sixten goes through. But he's got a much tougher job now, catching the race leader. Even though his tires are the freshest, 5 laps fresher. The gaps have become much bigger. It's no longer a big group fighting for the lead. He's got to make his tires count every single lap. Can he push them all the way? The race leader has already headed through turn 1. The gap between George and Tom now 1.5 seconds less than that. George is catching. And David will retire from this race. And he's collided hard with... Whoa, somebody's collided. Oh, okay. Several 10-second time penalties happened. Let's see. David Martinez has collided with some cars. Out of frustration, perhaps. I'm not sure. But he's pitting. And he's not retiring yet. Could have been such a good result for AMR. Now they've only got Claudio Diaz fighting for what could be a win. Even though he's nowhere near the race leader. And Sixten is closing in fast. He's already joining Harlem Marquis for P7. And Harlem is barely keeping up with Claudio. His third stint is not working out. The TF10 dream has been shattered. Oh, Michael Heidrich, what have you done? That's 3 seconds. Crucial 3 seconds. And the race win potentially out of the window. For him, but not yet for the team. Ryan Grob is still in tow. Will Michael then help Ryan to victory? They first need to overtake George Ansel before Harlem reaches them. Harlem is not too far behind. Sixten is also nearly there. He's got only a small tire advantage though against Harlem Marquis, who went in a lap earlier. And Harlem has got a big advantage against Claudio and especially Marcos. Marcos has clawed his way into the top 5 thanks to a big undercut. David Martinez is going to try and take the fastest lap. An extra point for the team there to salvage something. He's out of the points, but he can still gain one from that only. George Ansel now struggling to close the gap. He closes it by several tenths in one lap and then stabilizes it for another few. But he's got a lot of cars now for company. He no longer can attack and chase. He now has to defend as well. Because Michael is on a roll. Despite his 3-second penalty, he will not give up. He'll try and get as far ahead as possible. And try to mitigate the damage of the penalty. Darian Zins now ahead of Mario Amoroso. But no longer in the fight for the win. He just doesn't have the race pace. He had brilliant qualifying pace, but the race pace just wasn't meant to be. And there goes Michael Heidrich into second place. George, I think, just let him through. All he needs to do is follow him and hope he doesn't get any warnings taken away from Michael. And he can still finish second. Or perhaps he's just working together with Michael to catch the race leader, because Michael has got a lot more speed. He's already closed the gap to under 1.3 seconds and counting. And perhaps Tom Wolfgram is no longer in that much control. Even though Michael has a 3-second time penalty, he's taking a whole slew of cars in tow. Albeit that George is barely able to keep up. He's nearly out of DRS range already. Michael is a whole lot faster. It's what he needs though. As we get a yellow flag in turn 1 because of David Martinez retiring. Fastest lap strategy didn't work. And now we've got 15 drivers remaining. All of them will score points. So retiring now would no longer make any sense. Michael Heidrich now in DRS range. Sixten Lindhard in P6. He's already ahead of Harlem Marquis. Harlem Marquis now under threat from Claudio Diaz. And Sixten Lindhard is on the offensive once more. Marcus Almeida, of course, got no answer. The tire difference is 5 laps. Ryan Gropp now struggling to keep up with the top 3. That's not something Michael needs. Michael can't win the race at the moment. Ryan still can for the team. But Ryan needs to push harder. He's now got Sixten right behind. Can he give FRT another victory? They need that one. Whoever of these two teams wins the race will gain points on the other. At the moment, VNT will gain on FRT again. They'll increase the gap. But it's not a done job yet, not a finished job. Ryan Gropp back well back within DRS range, but Sixten has got a much better exit. And he's certainly going to try for a move in turn 4. He's in a hurry. He's got 5 more laps to go after this one. And there he goes side by side in turn 4. Ryan's got no answer. Lets him through. Simple as that. The front wing damage certainly doesn't help. And Sixten is now in the top 4. And he's got George Ansel right in his sights. And TF10, after a brilliant 1-2 in qualifying, in race pace and race strategy, they weren't as much on top as the other teams, especially VNT, even though they've only got 1 driver remaining. Tom Wolfgram has got it all so far, but there is still Sixten Lindhard. That, I think, is the biggest threat to his race victory. Michael is fast, but he's got a time penalty. George has got front wing damage, and Sixten's tires are 5 laps fresher than Tom's. And that, in this year's game, is a huge difference. Harlem Marquis in 7th, trying to get past Marcus Almeida, who's on a very old tires by this point. Some extra glory perhaps for TF10, an additional few points to pick up. They have still got 2 cars. They even can gain on the championship leaders. The top 2, side by side they go. Can Marco still gain some extra traction from those tires? He can for now. Harlem gets pushed wide, but there's still plenty of room. If anything, I think Marcos so far is an incredibly respectful driver, because he will fight you, but he will also leave you enough room to allow you to fight back. And when it yields, he knows when the fight is over. That is it. Big kudos to this driver, Marcus Almeida. He's not fighting for any podium, but he's definitely fighting in a smart way. Something which has become increasingly rare these days. Michael Heidrich is now properly putting Tom under pressure. And there is Sixten Lindhard with a dive against George Ansel. Ansel tries to hang around the outside, but Sixten simply, on his fresher tires, is no match for the Mercedes. And of course, the damaged front wing for George is not helping. And Michael Heidrich now knows he needs to get through fast. And he goes through into the lead. On track at least. Michael Heidrich now leads the race, but he's got a 3-second time penalty, which now means Sixten needs to overtake 1 more car. Harlem gets a 3-second time penalty. Disaster then for TF10. Ryan Gropp has lost the race pace again. He can't keep up with George. He will no longer have DRS. But he doesn't need to worry about Harlem now. He certainly won't be able to drive away by 3 seconds from the V-Carb. We're in the final 4 laps. It is indeed, as Ace says in the chat, Sixten's race to lose. He needs to get past Tom. And then perhaps for the sake of it, past Michael as well. Harlem Marquis moves into P5, no surprises there. He's got fresher tires as well. And he's now right behind his teammate once more. But there is Ryan Gropp trying to get back at him. But he just doesn't have the mechanical grip anymore to make a proper lunge. Oh, now George gets a 3-second time penalty as well. And that is now definitely the end for TF10 for any race victory. Abe Gabadi's victory in Las Vegas cannot be repeated anymore tonight, I'm afraid. The top 3 is also starting to drive away. And I wouldn't be surprised if we soon see a driver swap. George's tires are done. His front wing is not cooperating. Harlan might now be the quicker driver. It's all unfolding fast for them. Such a shame. It really looked like they were back on form in qualifying. But in the race, it just wasn't meant to be. Tom Wolfgram trying to get back at Michael Heidrich. That's his way to defend against Sixten Lindhardt, but they're incredibly close together. And look at the grip Sixten has. He gains so much time simply by exiting the corner. This is his moment to pass Tom Wolfgram into turn 4, braking a lot later. Beautiful move once again. Tom has no answer. His tires are 5 laps old. He just doesn't have the grip. I feel like if he had the grip, the fight would have been a lot more equal, a lot more even. But Tom can't answer that attack. And now Sixten is right behind Michael. He wants to get past for sure. Just in case Michael can get 1 warning removed and the 3-second penalty to go alongside it. He's got 2 full laps to do so. But does he want to hang back until the last lap, or does he want to get past now and rely on his tire advantage? It's only 3 laps against Michael Heidrich. And there he goes. Is he going to go for a move in turn 3? He hangs back for the time being. At the risk of Tom Wolfram attacking. He gets another good exit. Is he going to go for a move? Yes, he is in turn 4. Perhaps he can try and drive away in the 2nd sector and the 3rd one as well. As he gains the race lead. To remind you, from 17th on the grid up to the 1st position. No problem whatsoever. And once again, the tire strategist at FRT will definitely cheer this one on. They've done it once more. But there's still 1 lap to go. Can Michael do anything to claw back? And can he get his penalty removed? And I feel like Sixten doesn't want to take any chances. He wants to stay in the lead. And they're the final lap now of the Austrian Grand Prix. A fascinating Grand Prix. He gets a good exit, and that's what I said he's going to rely on. Michael can use all the battery he wants. But there's no way through. Darian Zins. Oh, he's got very bad front wing damage now. Mario Amoroso through. But this is the battle. We want to know how it ends. Oh, Michael is pushing so hard. He nearly lost the car right there. His rear tires are dead. Only a few more corners to go for Sixten Lindhardt. And Harlan Marquise and George Ansel nearly swapped side-by-side positions. They do swap now. But it's too little too late. It's on the last few corners of the race. And there he is. A long first stint from 17th on the grid has helped him to victory as Sixten Lindhardt wins 2 in a row here in CSS and takes some points away from VNT. 5 points closer to the championship leaders. Not as much as they would have liked, but from 17th to 1st, you've got to applaud that one because that is extraordinary. Brilliant moves all throughout the race. Absolutely amazing strategy on tires. Everything worked out for him. Michael Heidrich retains the podium. Despite the penalty, ET8 will gain a podium here. Ryan Grubb behind him in P4. Strong result for ET8 as well. TF10 will have to do with P5 and P6. At least there are double points and they're good points. But not as good as they probably would have wanted. And meanwhile, Gabriel Amato is struggling to get across the line. He's got a puncture. He's got a rear left puncture. His tire's 17 laps old. Ooh, dearie me. That is unlucky. That's very unlucky. That means they've blown at the earliest opportunity. But he will still finish in the points anyway, which is why he wants to get across the line. Wow. Brilliant job right there. No surprises. Driver of the day, Sixten Lindhard, are your race winner. Did nothing wrong. Not involved in any incidents. Tom Wolfgram, therefore, will have to make do with second place. It's still better than where he started from. Mike Heidrich and Ryan Grob, third and fourth. Then the TF10 drivers, George Ansel and Harlan Marquise. Marcus Almeida with his big undercut from 16th to 7th, which is also very commendable for TRT. Good result. Mario Amoroso, P8. Good result for him as well. Claudio Diaz, P9. Pascal Gill, P10 from 14th. Darian Zins had no good race pace, unfortunately, and a lot of penalties to go alongside it. P11 therefore. Francisco Giorgiorni from second to last to P12. Then Max Moreau and Benjamin Lettener. Gabriel Amato, the last of the finishes in P15 right there. And of retirements, of course, David Martinez, Rev, Alex Day, and Miltos Karafulaitis. And I feel like Miltos and Rev might have wanted to stay in the race to score some extra points for their team. But that didn't happen. And FRT gained points on VNT. Perhaps crucial points. We'll know that until when we reach the end of the season. So, let's see if anybody is up for an interview. I can't find Tom Wolfgram in the Discord, frankly. Can't tag him for some reason. That's annoying. And of course our third place finisher. Let's see if they are up for an interview. Oh, well, I can't tag them. Never mind. Okay. I'm getting blocked by tagging. So, well, no interviews then. But still a brilliant race by Sixten Lindhard. And yeah, that's that. Sorry, I'm a little staggered about the fact that I'm now getting blocked from tagging drivers. DBI. It's what the server moderator said in an automated message. Got no clue what it means. But that's that. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for joining. Next week, we're going to go to Canada. And the FRT will now be no longer 52 points behind, but I think it's going to be 47. Still a big gap, but it's manageable in the last 3 races. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. See you next week. Same place, same time. Until then, goodbye.